Welcome to the Withering Effect episode 2. Today's date is June 6th, or not June 6th, June 22nd, 2019. About messed up already. I am Duds, or also known as Duds Versus in most social media circles.
And I'm Bankgaardappel, or Bank for short, and today we're gonna talk about some Minecraft. I had to work pretty much all week this week, so I didn't get to play much, but what about you? Did you get to do something this week?
I did some things when I wasn't tripping over my own tongue. So,
right.
One of those things we actually worked on in stream last night was putting houses in front of my keep. And I still plan on doing some god armor while we still have the chance. Because, I mean, it's like you kind of have to have it now, right? Everyone's making god armor.
Yeah, even I'm starting to wonder if I should start making some. Just because we can, I guess.
Yeah. I literally think I'm going to make some and just put it in a case. And be like, look, that's my god armor I never wear.
I got it, and there it is.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, at least you could put it on an armor stand, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so, you had actual work, and then you were playing another game this week?
I did play a bit of City Skylines.
I've never played that, but I hear a lot of good things about it.
It's sort of like a newer version of the old SimCity, I guess. Mm-hmm. You just build a city, and there's a lot of management you gotta do. Traffic's often an issue.
Gotcha.
It's kind of fun, but it's I don't know. For me, it's one of those games where you don't have to think too much. You can just sort of sit there really tired and just play a little bit of a game.
Yeah, that's kind of like Breath of the Wild for me.
Right. Yeah, I switched those games up a bit, and I guess this week it was this one.
Yeah, I tried to do Breath of the Wild while tired, and then I get really bad at it, and then I get really mad because I'm bad at it.
And then you keep dying.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But
so, yeah.
Well, we're stepping all over each other. We even scripted this first part of this episode. So that's going great.
I guess it's where the script sort of stops. It's where things gets messed up.
Yeah. Let's just jump into Minecraft news because it's not a lot of news this week. And then we can move on to our main topic.
Yeah, good idea.
Alright, so we have 114.3 pre-release 4. Because, it's going to go to like pre-release 9 before it gets all said and done.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, so Pigmen do not aggro on players even if the alarm Pigmen has line of sight.
Yeah. So apparently, and it only affected the pre-release 3, according to Mojang. And basically the Pigmen wouldn't share their aggro anymore. Mm-hmm. And in pre-release 4 they will again. So I guess that's gonna fix gold farms again.
Yeah, because I've been AFKing it there, getting a ton of gold, worried that it was going to break it and have to wait for 114.4 to come out and fix that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I guess technically it wouldn't really break. I guess you would just lose aggro often.
Yeah, you'd have to be constantly shooting Pigmen.
Probably, yeah. So it's a small fix.
Yeah. Next, what do you want to call it? Fix or anything like that. Item frames in the world disappear and cause multiple error message on the server console. / placing an item frame causes client to crash. That seems like a big problem.
Yeah, it did sound like quite a big problem. I did read a little bit into it, but I mean, this kind of describes it already. Sometimes item frames would cause bad stuff to happen.
I mean,
and it would disappear. I think it's from 1.14 already, like the 1.14 release.
Yeah. Item frames just seem to get the short shaft every update. Like, they cause some game-breaking mechanics for some reason, and they're just like, I just hold things.
Yeah, they seem like such simple blocks. But I guess there's more to them.
Mm-hmm. Next thing, the world border is no longer solid. I have no clue what that was about. I'm assuming you couldn't... Well, can you walk through the world border now?
I don't know. I was kind of assuming that the visibility of it, I guess, it just turned sort of
that
solid.
could be true.
And now you can see through it again, but I mean, yeah, all the things in the game can be sort of broken. So maybe there was a glitch where you could sort of walk through it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or now you can... I guess they didn't fix it that you can walk through it now. That would be weird.
Yeah, I guess...
I have no idea, to be honest.
If anyone understands what that one's about, go ahead and tweet us or let us know in the emails and all that kinds of things.
I assumed it was about being able to see through it.
Uh-huh. More than likely, probably. And for the last bug fix on pre-release 4, blazes can now see through blocks they shouldn't be able to, or they could see through blocks they shouldn't be able to. So I guess they were constantly being aggro, which broke a lot of blaze farms, because obviously they fly up when they're aggro.
Yeah, pretty much. I sort of read into it, but I forgot it a little bit again. But there was something about trapdoors as well.
Oh, wow.
That they could see through that, and that they now can't anymore.
Okay.
Something like that. But it should be better.
Yeah. I mean, I always used the old, what do you call it? The V farm, where it had just minecarts going back and forth for the blaze farms. I always liked that one a little bit better.
Yeah, but that obviously would get trashed if they could see through blocks.
Yeah, I mean, it would be wrecked really bad.
Yep. It's not friendly for when somebody aggroes a blaze.
No, but it's not.
It is. I think it's easier to make than one of the others. I'm not sure. Also, I'm not a big fan of a lot of pistons pushing stuff. That tends to lag a bit.
Yeah, and it's noisy, so you're just AFKing in this extremely noisy room.
Oh yeah, that too. Pistons are quite loud.
Yeah. Okay, the last little bit of Minecraft news is the new launcher they have that's in beta. You actually played around with it, whereas I just read about it.
Yeah, I watched a video about it. Carl linked it to us, I think it was. And then I was like, I'll just give it a go. I'll look in it. Because there was one aspect in it that I thought was really interesting, which was the patch notes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's nice that you can look at the patch notes. And then I tried the launcher, and I went to the patch notes, and it was just the update 1.14.
So it didn't even have 1.14, 1, 2, or 3.
No. So it was sort of behind quite a bit. And if it was things like pre-release bug fixes or that kind of patch notes, that would be interesting. But this is quite old news already.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a shame. Then again, it's still in beta, so they might work on that, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest, it looks like one of those Windows 10 apps, sort of. They made it a bit... How do you call it? More streamlined, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's slightly bigger than it used to be. I like the really small launcher and just sort of click through it, because you don't really use it for much.
Yeah.
So I'm not a huge fan of the new launcher. As well, the current launcher we use seems fairly new to me still. We're not using that too long.
That's true. I have a complaint on the new launcher, though. I really don't like the white screen that says, Mojang or whatever on it. Is it Mojang or Minecraft? It has a red loading bar.
Oh, yeah, when you start up the game.
Because I play in a rather dark room. I mean, it's not super dark. I have lamps and stuff on. But when that white hits me in the eyes, I'm just like, ow.
Yeah, and I often play late at night, so you don't want a big white screen up in your face. But
no.
Oh well.
If it changes that, I'm all for it. But I'm with you. I like the small launchers because you're on it for half a second. I just want things to be easier to access. I don't want to have to click through multiple tab screens to choose things.
Well, the tab screens didn't change much. They're still tab screens. I think they renamed the settings to... I don't know what they renamed it to, or the profiles. Which is still very much the same. You just see a list of profiles you have, and you can easily adjust that. Slightly different configure, but it's still... For visibility and ease of access, I don't think it changed at all. It's just a visual sort of change.
Okay, I mean, that's kind of disappointing unless you really like clean looks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
maybe there's some people
personal
who
preference.
stay on the launcher a little bit longer than most people. For me,
yeah.
To me, the only thing that came out of the new launcher I liked the most was the fact I can change my skin there, and I didn't have to go to the Minecraft website.
Yeah, but you could already do that with the current launcher.
Right, well, and that's what I'm saying. The new launcher, at least when they introduced it, came out with this really good feature of being able to change your skin. It's like, what is this now new launcher coming out with that is going to make me want to use it instead?
Yeah, well, as I said, the first thing that stood out to me was the patch notes, but they were slightly disappointing. I hope they keep that really up to date. Mm-hmm. That you can read through the pre-releases and the actual current news.
Yeah. And maybe it will once it comes out of beta. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's beta, so they'll change quite a bit, I'm assuming, still.
Yeah, my hard drive, my PC ramped down. I forget how loud. I can't talk today, so today is a perfect day to record a podcast.
I mean, yeah.
But
you have those days, it's gonna happen.
I'm really thinking about switching to all SSDs in this computer just because of that noise.
Yeah, they can make a lot of noise. Do you ever clean them up a little bit or something? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, on my 1 terabyte hard drive, I'm using like 25% of it.
Okay, that's not too much.
No, it's like I don't really need a terabyte. I could go with another 500 gigabyte SSD and be good.
Yeah. Mine don't make that much noise anymore, but I remember older PCs of mine who did that. Mm-hmm. It's a hell of a noise.
It really is. But
it's like an air.
Let's just go ahead and Minecraft news. I think we can say is done for the week. It's not a lot happened this week.
No, I guess the most noteworthy is the beta launcher. Mm-hmm.
Which looks cool from the outside, but acts like the old launcher, but bigger this time.
Pretty much.
Okay, so let's get into the main topic discussion, which, when I read it, this is Carl's idea. I thought it was a great discussion. And hopefully it turns out to be a great discussion. I think we can get a lot of comments about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different opinions to have about this topic.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and say it. So this week's main topic is the ups and downs of single player versus Minecraft survival.
Right.
And to me, this is it's going to cover a lot of stuff, such as, let's start with single player. Right. For me, I've never really been a single player or a single player.
Right? Yeah, you jump straight into multiplayer, don't you?
Right. I've never really done it by myself. But
okay,
I see the ups for it. Like, so the single player world, you get to build it however you want. No longer are you stuck building next to that guy who's building the dirt hut. He gets like 3 weeks into the season, is still in a dirt hut, and then just leaves and quits, doesn't play anymore.
Yeah.
You don't get that in single player.
I mean, we all know those guys.
Right. It's like, oh, man. Unless you're on a YouTube server like the Ripple Effect, where you're just surrounded by great builders.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing that's really great, I guess, is if you run into a desert and all the sand's still there.
Yes. I don't know how many times I've gone to a desert and I'm like, I still have to walk like 400 blocks before I find sand.
You have to crawl through some uneven stone terrain, which is rather annoying usually. And fairly ugly as well.
The desert turns into the Badlands.
Yeah. The same goes kind of for the Mesa. They usually get tore up quite badly in multiplayer worlds, because they're already sort of rare.
Yeah.
And then in your single player, they're still like untouched usually. Which is kind of nice.
Yeah. I mean, the world is your own. You can choose any theme. And that's what that theme of the world is going to be. And it's going to be all you. So you get the gratification knowing that anything anyone sees in this world, that was you and you alone. Which, to me, seems really cool.
Yeah. Not to mention, you can have your own kind of settings, right? For example, a hardcore world, you couldn't do that in multiplayer. I guess you can, but it would be odd. things like that. You can have little customizations. You don't have to discuss that with possible server members. If you want some plugin,
you can literally make it whatever you want. Say you really don't feel like going and mining 400 things of sand. You just kind of want to build this big thing out of glass. You can give yourself glass or sand and just say, I'm going to build this. Even if you're only building it in survival, it's a single player world. Is it really cheating right then?
Well, I guess that's always going to be a discussion. There's a lot of points to make about it. But yeah, I mean, if it's to conserve the land, right, especially things like glass, it's just a little time saver if you would do it. Digging up an entire desert. It's just taking some time, but would you really... Most of it is sort of passive time, right? You have to wait until it's all melted and stuff.
Well, I mean, and maybe you set up your traders so you can trade for all that sand. You don't have to dig up the terrain.
Yeah. I guess that's another nice point. If you are on a single player world, the spawn chunks are all yours. See, you can have like any farms you would want running all the time, and none of the farms you don't want running all the time.
And it's going to be a lot smoother because you're the only one running those farms.
Exactly. Like, personally, I probably would just get like an iron farm and maybe some vegetable farm so I could trade easily with villagers. For the rest, I wouldn't need much that runs like constantly. Yeah. So what about multiplayer? What are some things you prefer over multiplayer, since you skipped like single player pretty much?
Well, to me, I like being able to really look at other people's creativity to earn my creativity, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Just get inspiration from others, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I feed off other people's builds, so when other people around me are building really good... My washing machine
is going nuts.
I have somebody next door hammering something, and I can hear it in my headset, but I don't think it's coming through on the audio. So it's like every 30 seconds, I'm like, what the heck is that?
I don't know if the washing machine gets through. It might be a little bit.
I think it is, but I think when we do some editing, it'll take it out. So
it'll be fine. Yeah.
Those of you, episode 2 is full of weird stuff too. Last episode we had the motorcycle or truck guy driving behind me. You have a washing machine now.
Yep.
Right.
Should have thought about that.
Yeah. Things I like about multiplayer servers is definitely the inspiration, because nobody builds the same. You can kind of build a little bit alike, but everyone does it differently.
Yeah, everyone has his own style, even if you would build exactly... Yeah, if you built the same team, things would still look completely different.
Yeah. I look at... Nice. I mentioned it last night on stream. Magoo's starter house and my starter house. They're built basically using the same materials. And while they look similar, they're two very different structures.
Yeah. I mean, you guys used kind of a... How do you say it? I guess... Sort of standard materials? Because it's mainly like it's mainly spruce and spruce... logs, right? And then
some grey concrete or something like that.
But it gives you so much variety to build in. Like they're so versatile blocks, I guess. Which you just pointed out. Like you guys pretty much use the same stuff, but so different builds.
Yeah,
which is nice. Yeah.
But then that makes me want to go back to what I don't like about single player and why I just skipped it totally. You have to be your own creative inspiration there.
Yeah.
You can watch YouTube videos and stuff, but to me, seeing it in person gives you a totally different experience. So,
right.
It's like, if I were to play in a single player world, I got the feeling that within 2 months, I would start to go, I don't know what to build. I mean, you can just keep building farms left and right, but at some point, farms kind of get boring.
Yeah, you don't really build for anyone. Nobody's really gonna see it. Unless you do YouTube or streaming. But even then, there's nobody who's gonna really walk through the world, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Another thing for me is... I'm not much, especially tunnels and that kind of stuff. I'm not a big fan of building that. Mm-hmm. So my nether, if I would have a single player world, would probably be not very decorated, because I don't like doing that. And then on a multiplayer server, you have people who like doing that. So you can sort of share those tasks, and the things you don't want to decorate will get decorated by someone.
Yeah. I think if I were to do a single player world, I would not have a nether hub, period. I think I would use command blocks that would teleport you to locations.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well. I mean, probably you don't use that much area anyway on the surface, so you could probably fly everywhere where you need to go.
That's true too.
Yeah, I didn't really play much of a single player world since Elytra showed up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when did Elytra come in? We were on, was it Discworld? We mentioned last episode, and that was a small world, and we could fly just about everywhere on the world in a little bit of space.
When Elytra showed up, I don't think many people used the nether that much anymore.
Mm-mm. Which is good, because I think that world never really got another hub. No, wait, it did.
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah. I think that was the last build on that series or whatever, was the nether hub. Like, we finished it maybe a month before we updated the map.
Yeah, that's a great pointer to why multiplayer servers are awesome as well, because that was really a group project. We worked on it, like, at one point. I think we were with, like, I don't know, maybe 10 people at one time, where we were all working at the same time on the nether hub, which was really cool.
Yeah, there was about 5 or 6 that were constantly digging while the others were starting to build.
Yeah.
And then you still had 2 or 3 that were resource gathering for everyone, so resources would never run out. Because it used a lot of quartz.
Quite a lot.
That was a dumb idea.
Yeah, quartz isn't usually the smartest block to pick if you want to build big stuff.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, another thing that multiplayer is great is obviously just the community. You have people to hang out with. You can talk a bit with others when you're playing.
Yeah.
You don't always have to play. You can sort of just hang out, as it were.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I look at this. I wouldn't have met you without a multiplayer Minecraft server. We live completely on opposite sides of the world.
Yeah, it was a shop that sort of started it, wasn't it? Me ordering a tunnel. Yeah,
Bang. I was doing another tunnel shop, and Bang ordered a tunnel that was, 900 blocks long?
It was quite a long tunnel. I'm assuming it's more than 900, but I don't remember it so long ago.
Well, and it didn't help. I came up with a complicated design that required multiple layers of stupid stuff.
It was a beautiful tunnel.
And then I retired from making nether tunnels.
Yep. It was a lot of work. I remember I immediately dug out, like, the area as well, because I didn't know, like, when you would start or wouldn't, and I didn't want you to have to wait.
Yeah.
So I, like, instantly dug out that entire tunnel, which was quite a grind. But
well, see, and here's the problem. I didn't plan on starting so quickly, but because you dug it out, I went, man, this guy really must want this tunnel done. I better go ahead and start. I didn't have all the materials together. I only had enough for maybe halfway.
I think I helped gather us all for quite a bit of that. Yeah.
I was just like, oh, God. So that we just fed into each other doing that. But that's the best part about multiplayer servers.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, we wouldn't have had that without the multiplayer.
Yeah. I think by myself, it would have taken me about a month to finish that tunnel. Whereas I had you, it took us maybe, 2 weekends, and we had it knocked out?
Didn't even other people end up helping as well?
I think Nabsky helped.
Yeah. I seem to remember that someone started helping as well. I mean, there was quite a little group that was communal to each other, or how do you call it? Anyway, on that server. Mm-hmm. Which later on became sort of Kamicraft, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and see, that actually brings up a good point, like, on how Kamicraft started, because we were all on what was even the name of that server that we were
Realm of Survivors?
Realm of Survivors. And the mods there weren't very good. Like, they were very much into, if you were in their clique, you could get away with murder on that server. Quite literally, I think my last day was, I was working on the mailbox room, and a guy just rode up and just killed me. And then I went back to get my stuff, and he killed me again. I was like, okay, so I'm done here.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to continue if that happens.
Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a server where everyone can play, and it's a safe area to build. You don't have to worry about griefing and all that stuff. We're going to make a tight ship, and that's going to be that. And that's how Kamicraft started.
And it worked out for quite a long time.
Yeah, mentioned it to a few other people. They joined, and then they mentioned it to their friends, and then their friends joined. And I think that server, lasted 3 years. Or close to it.
Yeah, something like that. And it didn't even it didn't even stop because it died out or something. We sort of switched to this server with a lot of YouTubers.
Yeah. For me, it just kind of... So, for me, if you're going to be an admin on a multiplayer server, you have to play on the multiplayer server, at least on a regular basis. You have to see what the server's doing. At least frequently.
You have to... And I agree.
It got to the point where I was spending more time adminning than I was playing. And so when I reached out to the Ripple Effect about taking on the YouTubers for Kamicraft, and they were like, yeah, sure, that was awesome. It was a load off my shoulders that I no longer had to do adminning, and I could just play the game.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. For me, it was the same. It took quite a bit of time to admin and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially because you were my tech guy, and I had literally said, hey, can we do this? And you're like, give me a day. And then usually
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, usually within a couple of hours, you're like, yes, we can do it, or no, we can't.
Yeah, that was the more fun parts, to be honest. There was also a lot of, sort of the workish things that had to be done. And it's, like you said, it's a load of your shoulders to not have to really worry about those things anymore.
Well, I hated dealing with kids that were cheating on the servers and then explaining to them why you were banning them and them just blatantly lie to your face. I wasn't X-raying. Really? Because I watched you for 15 minutes. Literally X-ray.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me. My sister was on my account, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you are responsible for your account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they always try to weasel their way out of it.
Mm-hmm. To me, that was the worst part. I hated banning people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I felt as an admin, it was your job to protect the people who were playing the game the right way. Even if they weren't very good at the game, even if your opinion didn't really line up with theirs, if they followed your rules, it was your job to make sure their builds were safe and they weren't getting cheated out of a fun experience too.
Exactly. Well, like you said, right, you started the server to create sort of a safe environment for everyone. Yeah, it takes a bit of work to hold that, but I mean, it pays off if you manage to do it, I would say.
I think so.
But it's a lot of work, and you got to be committed to it for sure. You got to be online on the server and have a look at things, and you know, it's not something you can do from a distance for sure.
Right. And when your server breaks, because it will, you better have a knowledge on how to fix it, or have somebody with you who knows how to fix it.
Yeah, you need. I mean, even though if you know it all by yourself, you're gonna need some help, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, especially for one person to do it. You want to hand off some work to make it easier on yourself.
Yeah. Well, that was the problem with the Discworld. I had the idea of, let's do a custom map. Nobody really plays on custom maps. But at the same time, hey, don't tear up the terrain. Well, how are we going to mine sand and clay and all that stuff?
Yeah, and it had to be set up in a weird way there as well, because you...
Yeah, we had a, I guess, dual world with a secondary seed on it with a really small world border. It's like 2,500 blocks. But within that 200 or 2,500 blocks, you had every biome. So if you wanted to mine it, you could. And the thought process there was, if you ran out of resources there, we would just reset the seed, and everything would come back.
Yeah, exactly. And that worked out quite well, I would say. Like, the whole map got saved, and then there was just a designated area where you could, destroy the world, basically.
It was a little annoying having to go back to Spawn Town to go mining for, like, sand and stuff. But the world was so small, like you said, you could just fly there. You didn't have to go into the nether or anything like that.
Yeah, well, and for me personally, like, if you have to go to a mining desert, or if you have to go to Spawn Town, it really doesn't matter, except if you often visit Spawn Town, or have a lot of reason to visit it. The area's gonna get nicer, right? Because more people are there, and you'll...
Well, that was really the first season we did a shopping district. And we did that in Spawn Town, and I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, that was a really cool area.
Mm-hmm. We talk so highly. I mean, we're 2 episodes in, and both episodes, Discworld has been brought up.
I mean, it was sort of a special place. Mm-hmm. It's the only map I've played on that was a custom map, where somebody actually, like, thought about how the world was made instead of having random generation. Mm-hmm. And it was so well executed. It was a beautiful world.
Yeah, the guy who made the world messaged me because he found his world through my YouTube series and was really excited to see what we were doing on it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that the guy who made the world was I think he was watching your series. You said
he followed for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, there was sort of a, I don't know, you felt, I don't know, a bit proud maybe, or honored that he's, like, interested in the kind of things you do because you're working on some of his creations.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was big for him because he saw somebody using his map, like, and we weren't just exploring it and calling it done. We were adding to it, making it our own.
It wasn't just some single-player world where somebody just explored it and built a house. It was like a server that just ran for quite a while on it.
Yeah, and I think we had 40 players that map.
Yeah, there were a lot of cool places and a lot of bases. I don't know about 40. Well, we probably have had that many, but...
There wasn't 40 at one time.
Yeah. There were definitely a lot of... noteworthy places to visit, which was cool, and they all stood out so much more because of the beautiful landscape around it.
Well, and this brings me to, like, the downfall of playing on a multiplayer server, because they're as awesome as multiplayer servers are. There is a ton of, I don't want to say problems, but things that don't go quite as planned on a multiplayer server.
Yeah.
Such as when you get next to the guy who builds the dirt hut and stops playing after 3 weeks.
Yeah, or the guy who just randomly decimates a mountain.
Yeah, and we've been with all those kinds of players. I remember, like, man, that's a really nice mountain. And then half of it was gone the next day. And then they quit the server the following day.
Because obviously it was too much work to rebuild it.
Something. It was like, what the heck? That's when Spigot and what did we have? What program was it? Was it, it wasn't World Edit.
Core Protect?
Core Protect, where it's awesome because then we could just roll back stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Oh, that was such a great plugin.
It really was. It made being on Spigot worth it because Spigot wasn't fun to play on. There were so many little quirks about it. That's another problem with multiplayer servers. When you have stuff like Spigot to keep lag really down low, you get weird mechanics that don't exactly work right.
I mean, you already got a game that maybe isn't fully optimized for multiplayer.
Uh-huh.
And then you add like stuff to it that sort of helps it being optimized. Yeah, you get weird stuff going on.
Yeah, I found one thing. So I had an iron shop on a map that no episodes were ever made of. Just because the map didn't last very long. Basically, everyone hated it after a month.
Mm-hmm.
But I had an iron shop, and in that iron shop, I made it so that the iron ingots just kind of constantly looped in an item elevator, which I thought looked really cool.
Right.
But in Spigot, it would not reset its time exposed.
Yeah.
Hang on one second. Zeus, seriously? Jeez, that dog, man, I'm telling you. Anyways, it wouldn't reset, so my iron would just go missing after a while.
Oh, that's... Well, you had the item clumping as well, right? It sort of would... Items that were close to each other, they would clump up to save lag as well.
They would do that,
so
too.
that whole item elevator, so you'd see items show around, it would just usually be like a little clump gathering at the bottom, and then when it was a full stack, it would go up.
Exactly. It's like, what in the world?
And it got rid of a lot of like cool visual stuff.
And that was the first thing I did when we joined Ripple Effect, and I needed an item elevator. Everybody was using the bubble columns because it moves items so much quicker. I was like,
yeah.
No, I've never had a real item elevator that I can see the items go up and down in a nice smooth pattern before, so I'm building one of those.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can't blame you for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really cool anyway, like, still. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that being said, whenever I have a sorting machine and I'm not looking at item elevators, bubble elevators are the way to go just because they do get the items there faster.
Oh, it's so quick. I mean, so also quick. For just a regular elevator, they're really nice.
Mm-hmm.
They're really quick.
Yeah, I've got like four of them in my base.
I think I got one.
Uh-huh.
I don't have much elevation that I need to change. Yeah. Or yet, I should say. There'll probably be some more later on.
Yeah. And we're talking about Core Protect and Spigot to reduce stress on a server. I mean, lag's a huge thing in multiplayer servers.
Yeah. I mean, it's the main thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. You always have that moment when you realize the server's too stressed out and now rubber banding's my life.
For example.
Yeah, last night when we were doing the live stream, it was bad. I think that was some of the worst I've seen since we went back to doing daily restarts.
Yeah, it was quite bad yesterday. Yeah. What I also get a lot lately is just the chunks aren't really loading that well for me.
Yeah, especially when you first log on.
Yeah. You basically just have like the 4 or 6 chunks around you, and then it's just void.
Yeah, that's the way I am.
And you just have to sit there.
Yeah, I thought if I would just sit there, the things would load around me. But I found they load faster if you just kind of walk into the void and hope you don't die. The chunks seem to load faster then.
Yeah, I don't generally do that. Usually it's fine, but I've experienced that sometimes you can actually fall down.
Yeah. Well,
and then
there
is no landing spot.
Then the Nether last night, I was like, I should kind of walk forward to force load these chunks. And you're like, yeah, I don't know about that.
No, I mean, I found out there was, if you sort of aim in the chunk that isn't loaded, and you punch a block or something, that can sometimes help it out.
Yeah.
But if it actually helps, or if it's just sort of coincidence when you do it, and it just sort of loads at that time. But, I don't know. At least it's something you can do while waiting.
Yeah. So... we talked, I don't know, some bad things, some good things. Some other good things that we didn't mention was playing within your comfort zone. So if you're not good at Redstone, generally on a multiplayer server, there will be that one guy who's so good at Redstone he builds every farm on the server.
Yeah, that's sort of nice things, especially for new players, right? You can have a lot of people who do stuff for you basically, or if you don't have much time to play.
Yeah,
there's obviously a lot of people with work and that kind of things. They don't have the time to build or gather a lot of stuff. So if they can use a bit of someone who does have the time to do that and does enjoy.
Yeah, that's the way I was. I would play after work, but I'd only get about 2 hours at most every other day playing. And so when you're trying to do YouTube and you have that little amount of time playing, you can't spend it resource gathering. Like, you're gonna run out of time to make an episode. So
yeah,
I had to learn Redstone because I was horrible at it, and I didn't like having to rely on somebody else to build my Redstone contraption to necessitate my YouTube hunger, I should say.
Right. And for me, it was sort of the other way around. I had plenty of time. So I didn't mind, or I kind of liked having to help out other people by collecting resources or building a farm or something like that, which was kind of nice to do as well. You can help out others with the time you have, and if they gotta work, they can use that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, seem to be bouncing around a lot for this topic, but this topic is so broad to me. It's kind of hard to keep it straight. But one thing I want to talk about that we have already kind of talked about already is running your own multiplayer server versus playing on somebody else's server. And we mentioned the whole relief of not having to do admin when playing on other people's servers, but we didn't talk about the downfall of having to play on somebody else's server, such as they might run data packs you really don't like or force a texture pack you don't really like.
Or they might think differently about how certain things work. For example, you're trying to nail down where lag comes from, and some people think differently about where it could come from than others. And if you're in control, you can sort of figure that out, right? And if you're not, you're relying on somebody else to figure it out.
Yeah, and it's no fun. Which, brings back to how you should play on a multiplayer server, and that's always thinking about everyone else when they're playing. Like, do you really need a cow farm with 1,000 cows in it?
Yeah, dude, little bit of social play, I'd say, is definitely needed. Personally, I often, it's interesting to build a farm because it's a project to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then, often it involves redstone, which is kind of nice to play around with. But like you said, do you really need 1,000 cows to do something?
Yeah.
Wouldn't a manual cow farm work? Like, it's easy to gather a lot more than you need. And especially on a server, that's something you gotta be careful with, I'd say. Because, everything that runs is some strain on the server. Mm-hmm. So maybe sometimes choosing something that you don't really need might be a better choice.
Yeah. Like, my big thing is I want to build a bamboo farm, but I think my bamboo farm is literally going to be 5 to 10 just straight up bamboo stalks that I might manually break down just because I don't want one of them giant flying machines. I say giant because they're actually compact nowadays, but a flying machine that goes across a huge field just cook, because, that hurts a server.
And it's noisy.
It is noisy.
Like
Jimbo, he did one of the flying machines, but his is very small and compact compared to what I've seen most other YouTubers do.
Well, the first thing I noticed when I had bamboo is you can't use it for that much.
Yeah, scaffolding and bamboo, that's it.
Yeah, it's mainly like a decoration and then scaffolding, but you reuse it so well that you don't need much of it. Yeah. And the bamboo grows so tall that you just need a small patch. Like, I have a small patch and I manually farm it. I only had to, chop it down once, and I had enough to build, a lot of scaffolding and still use it for decoration.
Well, I think the other big thing you can use bamboo for, though, is fuel.
True. You can make, fully self-sustaining smelters, I guess. Personally, I don't melt enough to have the use or the need for that it needs a constant source of fuel. Also, it's a really bad fuel source, isn't it? So you need a lot to burn.
I think it's like sticks.
Yeah, I don't know if it... I mean, you would need a big field if you melt a lot, I guess.
And to me, kelp blocks are still kind of... If you're not using kelp blocks, you should be using blaze rods.
Right. Well, one thing I often had was a charcoal little machine. I think Mumbo once made those. It's a really compact little thing, and you just feed it logs, and you get charcoal out of it, which is also great fuel.
Well, I think one time I did a carpet duping machine for fuel.
Yeah.
And whenever it would smelt, the duping machine would turn on. So that's when it would make carpets and fuel. And whenever it was done smelting, it would turn off the duping machine.
Yeah. I guess that could work.
Yeah. It was totally inefficient, though, because every once in a while, the duping machine couldn't keep up with the smelter, or the duping machine would break because of a little bit of lag or something like that.
Right. Well, I was gonna say the carpets have no fuel in them either, do they? So you need a lot of it. I mean, that's a downside to an automated fuel source, I guess. Yeah.
And they're so noisy.
Yeah.
I mean, anything with pistons I really don't like too much. Yeah. So it's kelp blocks or blaze rods to me are the go-to fuel source.
Yeah, I use coal a lot too, so I would add that one. But definitely blaze rods if you have a good source for that. And kelp blocks are awesome. The only downside is you have to sort of melt them down. You gotta find a different fuel source at first. Yeah. But kelps are great. They're not nice simple farms as well. Well, just like the bamboo, I guess.
Yeah, and they're good looking farms too. They've got a lot of motion and activity.
Yeah, and I like that they're underwater. That's sort of new, I guess. We don't have many farms that work underwater.
A fuel source you have to pull from the water.
It is a little bit ironic, I guess.
Just a little bit. Let's see. Is there any downsides to single player that we haven't mentioned? Because we kind of jumped right to multiplayer, because that's what both me and you done.
Well, I started off playing single player. Before I switched to a multiplayer server. And, well, one of the downsides was definitely, after a certain point, you just want to sort of hang out in your build or whatever. And you don't do that by yourself. So you build a lot, but you don't really spend much time in it, or at least that's how it worked for me. And in a multiplayer, you don't have that issue, and you can share it. Which in single player doesn't work, right? You can't really show others oh, look what I've done here.
And I think that's my favorite part of a multiplayer server is when someone first visits your base and you're a good way through it and they go, holy cow, what did you do here? This is awesome.
Yeah. I think the best part is when they just wander off on their own and start looking around. Yeah. It's sweet. They're
interested.
They're just interested enough that they don't want to listen to you talking. They just want to look. Which is also nice because you don't have to talk a lot.
Talking about not talking a lot on a podcast seems kind of like a bad thing.
That's true. On a podcast, you want to talk a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, often in Minecraft, it's typing, right? So talking is a lot easier.
Well, I mean, Discord's kind of changed all that. I mean, you had Skype.
True.
But to me, Discord's changed the way gamers communicate, and it's definitely for the better.
Well, you had things like TeamSpeak and such, but they always cost money.
Yeah, I never used TeamSpeak because, one, I could never get it set up, and two, I wasn't willing to pay for my own server.
I'm kind of surprised, actually, since we're on this topic, because I remember a few years ago already, you had something like Raid Call, which was really similar to Discord. I don't know if it eventually switched into Discord, but that was one of the first ones, I think, where you could just make groups as you were going along. Where they were free to use and all that.
They may have been bought by Discord.
Yeah, I was gonna say Discord looks kind of similar as well.
Maybe.
But I don't know. But yeah, it's Discord definitely helped having a free sort of. I mean, Skype had the downside. You had to share your account and all that, right? So you really want to know people. And with Discord, you can just. It doesn't matter. All the strangers, it's alright. You can sort of mute it and easily get your privacy if you want to.
Mm-hmm. But I think we're going to go ahead and end it there, Bank. If you want to go ahead and start sending this out.
Alright. Well, if you've liked the first 2 episodes, please leave us a rating and a review. That's going to help us a lot. Also, if you'd like to get into contact with the show, mail us at email or on the email address at podcast@rippleeffectsmp.com or tweet us, either me or Duds. And the links are in the show notes, obviously, with our descriptions and that.
Mm-hmm. This show has been brought to you by Bank and myself, but let's also not forget about our digital producer, Carl, who helps make sure the show ends up where it's supposed to be and not in the trash somewhere. And then our amazing music that you hear in the intro and outro is done by Decoy. Both their links can be found down in the show notes with everything else we've talked about today. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out and getting withered with us. Bye.
See ya later.